A woman I heard from recently, late 40s, 6 weeks sober, told me about a Tuesday night at a gas station. She went in for a bottle of water. That is it. Water. But the cooler with the beer was right there. Eye level. Same brand she used to drink. She said the pull hit her so hard it felt physical, like something grabbed her chest and squeezed. Her mouth went dry. Her hands started shaking. She walked out without the water and sat in her car for 40 minutes, convinced she was going to break. She did not break. Not that night. But she told me something that stopped me. She said, "I had no idea it would end. I thought it would just keep getting worse until I gave in. Nobody told me it has a shape." Have you felt that? That pull that is not just in your head, it is in your body. The one that does not care what time it is or how many days you have. If you have, this episode is for you. And if you are in the middle of one right now, stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, I am going to show you the shape of what you are feeling. And once you can see it, it loses some of its power. Thank you for being here, especially today. Because this topic, cravings, this is the one people do not want to talk about. It is the one that carries the most shame. And if you are listening to this, it means you are choosing to understand it instead of just survive it. That takes something real. This is Recovery Decoded, Episode 4. The Craving Decoder. Quick callbacks. Episode 1. Dopamine, your reward system. Why nothing feels good yet. Episode 2. Sleep, the engine of recovery. Episode 3. Stress, the 4-tool emergency protocol. Today we are getting into the thing that all 3 of those episodes were building toward. Cravings. Why they feel physical, why willpower fails, why fighting them actually makes them stronger, and a set of tools that works with your neuroscience instead of against it. And I need to say this up front. We are also going to talk about relapse today. Directly. Not around it, not politely. Because if we are going to talk about cravings honestly, we have to talk about what happens when a craving wins and what to do next. Your body is healing. Here is the map. You choose the route. Let us head into the brain room. So, cravings. Most people think a craving is a desire, a want, like wanting a piece of cake. That is not what a craving is. A craving is a neurological event. It is your brain running a program. And understanding the program changes everything. There is a loop in your brain called the cue routine reward loop. It was mapped extensively by researchers at MIT and popularized by Charles Duhigg. Here is how it works. Your brain encounters a cue, a trigger. That could be a place, like a gas station, a time of day, like 5 p.m. when you used to start drinking, a person, an emotion, even a smell. That cue activates a circuit in your basal ganglia, which is the part of your brain that stores habits, and it launches the routine automatically. Before your thinking brain even gets involved, the program is already running. And here is the part that makes cravings feel so physical. When the cue fires, your brain releases preparatory dopamine, not reward dopamine, preparatory dopamine. Your brain is not responding to the substance, it is anticipating it. Remember from episode 1, dopamine is the wanting chemical, not the having chemical. Your brain is already producing the reach before you have made any conscious decision. That is why it feels like a physical pull, because it is physical. Your dopamine system is firing. Your heart rate changes. Your mouth gets dry or starts watering. Your hands might shake. Your chest tightens. This is not weakness. This is a neurological program running in your basal ganglia faster than your prefrontal cortex can intervene. Now, here is something most people are never told, and this is the part that changes everything. Cravings have a shape. They are not flat. They are not permanent. They do not just keep building until you give in or die. A craving is a wave. It rises, it peaks, and it falls. Research on craving duration shows that the average craving peaks at about 20 to 30 minutes. Then it drops, even without using, even without doing anything. The wave passes. That woman at the gas station sat in her car for 40 minutes. She did not know it, but she had already passed the peak. She was on the other side of the wave. She won, and she did not even know she was winning. There is a man I want to tell you about too. 60 years old, retired military, 9 months sober. He told me the cravings were not the hard part anymore. The hard part was the ones that came out of nowhere. He would be watching TV with his wife on a Saturday afternoon. Nothing wrong, nothing stressful. And suddenly it would hit. No trigger he could identify. No reason. That is because some cravings are not triggered by external cues. They are triggered by internal states. A slight drop in blood sugar, a dip in dopamine that your brain interprets as a deficit, a shift in your emotional baseline so subtle you do not consciously register it, but your basal ganglia does, and it launches the program anyway. This is why willpower alone fails. Willpower lives in your prefrontal cortex. It is a limited resource. It gets depleted by stress. We covered that in episode 3. It gets depleted by poor sleep, episode 2. It gets depleted by decision fatigue, hunger, loneliness, exhaustion. And your craving program runs in a part of your brain that does not need willpower. It runs automatically. Trying to beat an automatic program with a depleting resource is not a fair fight. So we stop trying to fight it, and we learn to surf it instead. Let us talk about where cravings live in your body. Because recognizing the physical signature is the first step to surfing the wave instead of being pulled under by it. Chest, that tightness or squeezing, that is your sympathetic nervous system activating. Same fight or flight response from episode 3. Your body is mobilizing for something. Hands. Restless, shaking, fidgeting. Your motor cortex is firing because your brain has already started the routine at a neurological level. Your hands are reaching for something that is not there. Stomach. That knot, that hollow pool, almost like hunger, but different. Your gut is responding to the dopamine signal. Remember from episode 1, 50% of your dopamine is produced in your gut. Jaw. Clenching, grinding, same stress response we talked about last week, layered on top of the craving. There are 2 types of cravings, and it helps to know which one you are having. Physical cravings come with all of the body sensations I just described. They are intense, but they have a clear peak and decline. Emotional cravings feel more like a mood, a pull toward escape, a desire to not feel what you are feeling. They are less intense, but they linger longer. The tools work for both, but knowing which one you are in helps you choose the right tool first. All right, real talk. And I am going to be more direct in this section than I have been in any episode so far, because this topic demands it. If you are white knuckling right now, if you are in the middle of a craving and you press play because you are trying not to use tonight, I want you to hear this. You are in the fight right now. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. And the fact that you are here, listening to a voice instead of giving in, that is not a small thing. That is the whole thing. Stay with me for the next 10 minutes. The wave will pass before this episode ends. Now, if you relapsed yesterday or last week or this morning, I am not going to tell you that relapse is just part of recovery. Because I think that phrase, said casually, deflates the moment. It makes it sound like it does not matter. It does matter. You know it matters. That is why you feel what you feel right now. But here is what I need you to understand, and I need you to hear this clearly. A relapse is not a reset to 0. Your dopamine receptors did not disappear overnight. Your GABA recovery from episode 2 did not evaporate. The cortisol progress from episode 3 did not rewind to day 1. Research on dopamine receptor recovery shows that brief relapse events do not return receptor density to pre-sobriety levels. Your brain kept some of what it rebuilt. Not all of it, but some. You are not starting over. You are resuming from a setback. There is a difference, and it is not a small one. But, and this is the part most people skip, a relapse needs an autopsy. Not shame, not punishment, an autopsy. A relapse autopsy is a structured debrief, not something you do alone at 3 a.m. beating yourself up. Something you do with your counselor, your sponsor, your therapist, or someone you trust who understands recovery. Here's what it looks at. What was the cue? What triggered the sequence? Was it a place, a person, a time, an emotion, a physical state? What was happening in your HALT? Were you hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Were any of those unaddressed? Where did the sequence start? Not when you used. That was the end. When did the first domino fall? Was it a thought 3 days earlier? An argument? Skipping your morning routine? Isolating? What could interrupt the sequence next time? Not willpower. A specific tool at a specific point in the chain. An if-then plan. A different route home. A phone call at the moment the first domino wobbles. That is what a relapse autopsy does. It turns a failure into a map. It shows you exactly where the chain broke and gives you a specific point to intervene next time. You do not do this alone. You do it with someone who can see the pattern from outside your own head. A counselor, a sponsor, a therapist. If you do not have one, Episode 6 is going to cover exactly how to find one and what to say on the first call. And if you have not told anyone yet, if you are carrying this alone because the shame is so heavy you cannot imagine saying it out loud, here is something you can use right now. Call someone, one person, and say this, exactly this, if you need the words. I had a setback. I am not okay right now. I do not need you to fix it. I just need you to know. That is 23 words. You do not have to explain. You do not have to perform recovery. You just have to let one person in. Because isolation after relapse is where the spiral lives. The shame of hiding it is heavier than the shame of saying it. We are going to go much deeper into connection, communication, and rebuilding relationships in episode 11. But if you need those words today, they are yours. Use them. Let that sit for a moment. Whether you are on day 1 or day 100, the next craving is coming. It always does. The question is not whether it arrives. The question is what you do when it does. Here is your toolkit. 4 tools. Science first, then the how, then when to use it in your real life. Tool 1. Urge surfing. This is the single most important technique in this episode. It was developed by Dr. Alan Marlatt, a psychologist at the University of Washington who spent decades researching relapse prevention. And it is based on one insight that changes everything. Fighting a craving strengthens the neural pathway. Every time you clench your fists and white-knuckle through, you are reinforcing the connection between the cue and the distress. Your brain learns this cue produces suffering. The only way to end the suffering is the substance. The pathway gets stronger. Urge surfing does the opposite. Instead of fighting the craving, you observe it, like watching a wave from the shore. You do not try to stop the wave. You do not swim against it. You watch it come in, rise, peak, and fall. Here is how to do it. When a craving hits, stop. Do not react. Notice where you feel it in your body. Chest, stomach, hands. Describe it to yourself without judgment. Say, "There is tightness in my chest. My hands are restless. This is a craving. It has a shape. It will peak and it will pass." Then watch it. Breathe normally. Do not fight it. Do not feed it with thoughts about using. Just observe, like a scientist watching data. The craving will rise. It will hit a peak somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes. And then, without you doing anything, it will fall. The wave passes. When to use it? Anytime a craving hits and you are somewhere safe. On your couch, in your car with the engine off, in bed at night. The key is you have to be willing to sit with discomfort for 20 minutes. That is the cost. And the payoff is that every time you surf a craving instead of fighting it, the next one gets weaker. The pathway weakens through non-reinforcement. That is not motivational talk. That is how neural pathways work. Tool 2. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Grounding. This one is for when a craving hits and you need something immediate. Urge surfing asks you to sit with it for 20 minutes. Sometimes you do not have 20 minutes. Sometimes you need your thinking brain back in 5 seconds. The science. When you force your brain to catalog sensory information, you activate your prefrontal cortex and your somatosensory cortex simultaneously. This overrides the amygdala and interrupts the craving program. You are forcing your brain to switch channels. Here is how. Name 5 things you can see. Say them out loud if you can. 4 things you can physically touch right now. 3 things you can hear. 2 things you can smell. 1 thing you can taste. That takes about 60 seconds. And in that 60 seconds, you have pulled your brain out of the automatic craving loop and into conscious sensory processing. The craving does not disappear, but your thinking brain is back online. And now you can choose what to do next instead of running on autopilot. When to use it. At a party where everyone is drinking. In a pharmacy, picking up a prescription and the pills are right there behind the counter. When you walk past a bar and the smell hits you and every nerve fires at once. When a craving blindsides you in a public place and you cannot exactly sit there for 20 minutes with your eyes closed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is your 60-second bridge back to control. Tool 3, the 15-minute delay. This one is deceptively simple and brutally effective. The science. Cravings peak at 20 to 30 minutes and decline. The steepest part of the rise is the first 15 minutes. If you can delay your response by 15 minutes, you have ridden past the worst of the ascent. The remaining time is easier because the neurochemical wave is already falling. Here is how. Do not tell yourself no. Do not say, I will never use again. Do not make it about forever. Just say, not yet. Not for 15 minutes. Set a timer on your phone. 15 minutes. Then do literally anything else. Walk around the block. Call someone. Do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a shower. Clean a dish. Anything that is not using. When the timer goes off, check in. Is the craving still at a 10? Set another 15. Is it at a 6? You are past the peak. Is it at a 3? You won, and you did not have to fight. You just had to wait. When to use it. When you are standing in front of the thing and every part of you says yes. When your brain has already decided and you need to buy time for your prefrontal cortex to catch up. When forever feels impossible, but 15 minutes feels survivable. It always is. Tool 4. Change your physical state. This one works because of how memory and triggers are stored. The science. Your hippocampus stores triggers as environmental context. The room you are in, the temperature, your posture, the sounds around you, even the chair you are sitting in. All of these are part of the cue that launched the craving program. When you physically change your environment, you break the contextual chain. Your hippocampus loses the thread. The cue weakens. Here is how. Leave the room. Go outside. If you cannot leave, stand up and change your posture. Splash cold water on your face. Call back to episode 3, the dive reflex. Change the temperature. Turn on a light. Open a window. Put on shoes. The more environmental variables you change, the more you disrupt the contextual cue. When to use it. When you are sitting in the same spot where you always used. When the craving is linked to a specific room, time, or routine. When you have tried breathing and grounding and the craving is still there because the environment keeps re-triggering it. Change the environment. Break the context. The craving loses its anchor. And here is how all 4 work together. Same way we built the emergency protocol last week. Craving hits first. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Grounding. Get your thinking brain back in 60 seconds. Then, 15-minute delay. Set the timer, buy yourself time. During those 15 minutes, urge surf. Observe the wave. Watch it rise. Watch it peak. If you cannot sit still, change your physical state. Leave the room. Go outside. Break the context. Grounding, delay, surf, move. That is your craving protocol. Here is what to expect with cravings as your brain heals. Days 1 through 3. Cravings are nearly constant. Waves stacked on waves. There may be no break between them. This is the hardest stretch. If you can get through these 3 days, the landscape changes. Days 4 through 7. Cravings are still frequent, but there are spaces between them now. You can feel the gaps. Minutes where you are not thinking about it. Those gaps are your brain rewiring. Pay attention to them. Days 7 through 14. Intensity starts dropping. A craving that was a 10 might register as a 7. Duration shortens. The waves pass faster. Urge surfing becomes more effective because you have evidence now that the wave actually falls. Days 14 through 30. Cravings become more situational than constant. Specific triggers still fire the program. A place, a person, a time. But the background noise quiets. You start to have hours, then half days, where it does not cross your mind. Days 30 through 90. Cravings become what I call whispers instead of screams. They still come. They may always come, honestly. The research is not definitive on whether craving pathways fully extinguish or just go quiet. But by 90 days, most people describe them as a passing thought, not a physical siege. That woman from the gas station? She drives past it every day on her way to work. Some days she notices a little flicker. Most days she does not. And the ones where she notices, she surfs them in about 45 seconds now. Not 40 minutes. 45 seconds. That is what rewiring looks like. Here's what I want you to do. The next time a craving hits, and one will, probably before this week is out, do not fight it. Time it. Observe it. See if it peaks and passes. That is it. Just watch the wave once. And notice that it has a shape. And if you had a setback recently, do the autopsy. Not alone, with someone who can see the pattern. A counselor, a sponsor, a therapist, a trusted friend. Episode 6 covers how to find a therapist if you do not have one yet. But if you need the relapse autopsy now, reach out to someone before this week is over. Next week on Recovery Decoded, we shift gears. Episode 5, The Recovery Models. We are going to lay out every major recovery program side by side. AA, Smart Recovery, Refuge Recovery, MAT, Faith-Based, Secular, Harm Reduction, and others. What the research says about each one. No ranking, no recommendation, just the facts. So you can choose the path that fits your life. Every path respected. That is not just a value of this show. It is the whole point. If today was heavy, it was supposed to be. Cravings are the front line of recovery. Whether you are on a streak or starting over, the next craving does not know the difference. And neither do these tools. They work either way. If there is something we have not covered that you need to hear about, a specific substance, a question about something non-substance that is related to your new recovered life, something you searched for at 2 a.m. and could not find a real answer for, put it in the comments. This show is built around what you are actually going through, not what we think you should hear. You decide what comes next. And whatever you are facing this week, remember, nobody is making this choice for you. Not a program, not a sponsor, not this podcast. You are choosing to understand. You are doing this for you. Nobody gave it to you, and nobody can take it back. The more you understand, the more you own your recovery.